Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Thursday evening Parent Academy webinar session. We're excited to have you as audience listeners and participants. I am Tina Folston Hayes, the Parent Academy Specialist for Educational Equity and Outreach for the Alachua County Public Schools, and I welcome you this evening. Tonight, we will receive some helpful information from our guest speaker, Miss Missy Mills from the Cook Center for Human Connections. Just before we get started, let's go over a few housekeeping elements. Please keep your microphones on mute through the duration of the presentation. All of your questions will be answered via Menti or the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your webinar window. Ms. Mills will give you a run through about Menti, so just please keep your ears and eyes open for that information. All of our webinars are closed captioned and recorded and posted to our website for re-review at a later date for anyone that could not join us live tonight. And so without further ado, I'll go ahead and introduce Miss Missy. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. So again, I'd like to welcome everyone. My name is Missy Mills, and I'll be hosting your session this evening. And as we wait for the arrivals, feel free to go ahead and get a pen and paper ready if you'd like to take some notes. During our time together, you are going to need your computer, obviously, to view the content, and your phone, if you have it, to view a website called Menti. So Menti.com acts as a tool for collaboration, and that allows us to engage in an interactive activities throughout the session this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and show you Menti now as we're waiting for the session to get started. So Menti.com is our platform for discussion questions throughout the session. So this helps us maintain a noise-free and a confidential environment, making it comfortable for everybody to be able to share their thoughts, their feelings, and emotions. So to get started, you can either scan the QR code that you see on your screen right now with your phone, or you can visit on your computer at menti.com. And then you just enter the code that's displayed on the screen up at the top to join the session. So once you're clicked in, it should say instructions on your phone. It is a blank screen and it says instructions. Once you do that, there's a little thumbs up. And if you can click on that, that would be fantastic so that I know that you're in and ready to participate. And if you are using your phones right now to watch this and you can't access Menti separately, that is totally okay. Do not worry about it. You can use the chat, the question and answer, I believe is what you use here. And you can share your comments and then we'll relay them on to the rest of the audience. So let's just make sure everybody's gotten in here to Menti. And again, I have put that information in the chat, but it's really very easy. That information is right at the top of the screen. So it's menti.com, and you just add that specific code, and that will take you to our presentation. So it looks like we have people in. That's fantastic. So I would like to welcome you to the mental health series hosted by parentguidance.org. Again, my name is Missy Mills, and I'm here to lead you through this evening's session. So I'd like to express my gratitude to your district leaders for introducing parentguidance.org to your school and arranging discussions aimed at assisting you in supporting your kids' well-being. So to ensure a safe and private environment that fosters open sharing, we have turned off audio and video for everybody. That's very helpful to us. And additionally, I'd like to mention that, again, we are recording this session for future reference. So that way you can use it again in the future. And I believe you're also available to be able to share that with other parents that you may know. So our discussion this evening is going to center around emotional regulation and how parents can recognize what's wrong. So the goal of this session is to leave with a better understanding of the phrase, emotional regulation is the key to life. So we're going to unpack the how and the why, as well as to provide strategies to use at home with your child. Let's start off by getting to know you a little bit better. What age range do your kids fit into? So to share this information, you want to go to Menti where you've logged in, And then you will select the age of your kiddos. So do you have kids in elementary, middle, high school? Maybe you have older kids or you have a mix of those kids. So just select all that applies. And then once you've made those selections, hit the submit. Look great. It looks like we've got some people in there. And then obviously you can see on your screen as you and others provide your responses, we get to observe those in real time. So this is an excellent example of the type of interactive activities that we'll be engaging in through this evening. So looking at the screen, it looks like we have some older kids. I have 3 kids in college, some high school, middle school, and a few elementary school kids. So I think this information really pertains to everybody. So I'm hoping it will help you. If you are worried about your child, do not feel alone. Our research shows that 50% of parents we've surveyed are worried that their child is struggling. And furthermore, parents really aren't sure what to do to help. This is why we've created the parentguidance.org mental health series, so that we can explore together the issues that your children are dealing with and help you discover tools to help you help your kids. Our research is very important in keeping our finger on the pulse of what parents and their children are going through. So occasionally we do send out short parent questionnaires. So I encourage you to respond to those. That helps us let us and you and other parents. So helping your child with emotional regulation is a big topic. To really understand this topic, we have to uncover what's wrong. So on your phones in Menti, if you'd like to share your biggest concerns, what are they for your children and their emotional regulation? Personally, I kind of consider emotional regulation to be an ongoing journey. Kids change, right? It involves acknowledging that prior to controlling my emotions, I must first pinpoint and embrace my emotional condition. So the process of emotional regulation necessitates learning, consistent practice, and a cycle of relearning and further practice. So I'm going to give you just a moment to come up with some ideas of what are your biggest concerns. And I'll be right back. Okay, it looks like we have a couple of responses here. The first one is coping strategies for dealing with failure, things like not passing a test. Those can be difficult things, so that's a great question. And let's see, my kids are very defiant when there's something that they don't want to do. Well, that sometimes you'll see anger, sometimes you'll see all kinds of emotions going on with that. And coping with a disability in school. Yeah, that's a great one too. I have one child that has a known disability, and that can be very emotional up and down depending on what the situation is. So thank you for those responses, and hopefully the information this evening will help you with some of those. So for our time today, Brett Williams is going to take us through emotional regulation, which he proclaims is the key to life. Brett is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and he has a master's from California State in clinical psychology. And he is also the clinical director at Mountain View Hospital in Payson, Utah. So for this first video, Brett explains the importance of emotional regulation in his own life with his family. So to ensure that you're fully immersed in this experience, please confirm your audio connection. So if you can hear the video sound, if you just hit the thumbs up button, there might be a heart button, either one. That would be very helpful. And as mentioned before, the participation is completely anonymous and it's greatly appreciated. So let's hear what Brett has to say.
Now, I don't know if you did the same thing, but when my kids were little, man, we taught them so much about all kinds of stuff. Dinosaurs and math and science, and it's just all really cool. My kids, Wes and Trevor, they could tell you the scientific names of all the dinosaurs, the genus and the species names. And we used to think, we're so proud of our children. But I have to tell you, now that my kids are adults, you know what I care about? I care about my son's depression. Both Wesley and Trevor were adopted, and so they bring some genetics into their line. And what I care about is making sure Wesley's depression doesn't start getting too bad and becoming suicidal, or having Trevor, my youngest, getting his anxiety up so high that he starts having panic attacks. These are the things that are important to me as a parent. I don't care that much about dinosaurs anymore. That didn't matter. I don't know why I was spending so much time focusing on all the math and science and reading and all the academic things, because what makes anybody successful in life is how well they regulate their emotions, right? You can have the greatest job in the world and not be happy. And we see that all the time, the fame and money that anybody could imagine, but they're not happy. So emotional regulation is going to be the most important thing that you could ever teach your children, because emotional regulation is the key to life. Nothing else matters than being able to control our emotions.
So that's an excellent overview from Brett Williams. And additionally, tonight, we also will discover why we have emotions, the impact of inward emotions on your mental health, why emotions that are too high or too low are harmful. And then we're going to discuss strategies that you can use at home to help your child. So going back to Menti, can you indicate whether you agree or disagree with this statement? My child gets angry at the most minor things. So I'm going to repeat that again. My child gets angry at the most minor things. Do you strongly agree, somewhat agree, don't agree or disagree, somewhat disagree, or strongly disagree? So, do they get angry at the smallest things? Let's see if we've got some in. Okay. So we've got some strongly agree, somewhat agree. Maybe it just depends on the situation. Maybe the somewhat agree and disagree kind of go together, because some things you might have major issues and some you don't have issues at all. Like, getting off the video games is one where major eruption happens, and, getting ready for dinner isn't such a big deal. So thank you for those answers. I appreciate that. So in our first segment, Brett Williams shares why we have emotions. Let's hear what he has to say.
Now, the simplest and easiest way to think about emotions is that emotions are basically electric signals. They're electrical signals that come from your brain and go through your body. So let me show you what I mean. So this is a brain, right? This is Abby, my abnormal brain, Abby, right? And on the outside of Abby, you're going to see the neocortex. That's the thinking part of the brain. But inside the middle, the core of Abby, is the limbic system. And this is where your emotions become generated. This is where your emotions are. And electrical signals travel from the limbic system down through your nervous system into your body. That's what emotions are. They're electric signals from your limbic system through your body. And what do? Well, these electrical signals from your limbic system get you moving. That's what emotions do. If you ever wondered why we have emotions, it's because emotions get us moving. Now, every emotion gets us moving in a different way. Anger gets me moving in a different way than love. Happiness. Joy. Every emotion gets us moving in different ways. But that's the function of emotions. The function of emotions is to get people moving, to get people to take action. And so you can think about emotions as E, energy, motion, movement. Emotions are E, motion. Energy produced by the limbic system that gets our body moving. That's what emotions are. They're E, motion. They're energy that gets you to move. This definition, it's really, really a critical one, because if you can understand the energy that your brain is producing, then you can change the energy that your brain is producing, change the emotion, and boom, we have emotional regulation. And that's what we're going to be working on.
Have you ever thought about emotions in that way? Energy plus motion equals emotions? What about the concept that emotions get us moving and get us to take action? Have you ever noticed how eager you are to do something when you're excited about it? I know I am. So let's share with one another an example or two of how your emotions affect you. So the question is, when I am feeling blank, I tend to blank. So I'll give you a couple of ideas. When I'm feeling stressed, I tend to eat. So when you're feeling what emotion, what do you tend to do? Okay, so when I'm stressed, I cry. That's a good one. That happens. I see that happening with our kids a lot. Let's see what else. Oh, there's another one. Oh, when I'm feeling mad, I tend to clean. Well, maybe because you felt like you've got a lot of energy, that E, and motion. So the energy and then the motion. So you have to get rid of it. Okay, those are great ideas. How about when you're stressed out, maybe you eat? Or when you're anxious, maybe you get snappy at people. Or when you get overwhelmed, maybe you just shut down. Have you ever noticed that with your kids? Sometimes there's just too much going on and they'll just shut down completely. All right. Well, when I'm hurt, I shut down. There you go. That's a good one too. You just kind of withdraw away. So thank you for those responses. In our next segment, Brett's going to share the impact of inward emotions on mental health.
I'm going to start by showing you somebody with really low energy. What if you met somebody and they said, oh, my energy, it feels really down today, low energy. What would you say this person is feeling emotionally? Well, we already know what this person's feeling emotionally, right? They're feeling sad. Why are they sad? Because their energy's low. We already know low energy is what we feel when we're feeling sad. But what if I met somebody and they had really, really high energy, maybe like me, annoyingly high energy. Their energy's really up. Woo! Lots of energy. Well, what would we say that person's feeling? Well, if their energy is up, actually up is not even an emotion, is it? Up is a direction. But if I told you my emotions, my energy is up, what would I be feeling? Excited, right? Because I have high energy. Now, could I have really up energy, but also be feeling a negative emotion? Absolutely. What we see is the energy begins to turn or begins to change. So what if I had somebody with high energy, like this, but this is what I changed? What if I told you that their high energy was all turned inside of themselves. Well, now all of a sudden they have high energy, but it's all turned in, and we wouldn't say that they're excited anymore. What would we say? Maybe they're feeling anxious, right? Or maybe they're feeling angry. Both of those are fight or flight responses. Both of those are high emotions that protect us. But that high energy is either used to run, anxious, or fight, which is protect ourselves. But the energy is the same. It's high energy and it's collapsed inward. So the second thing I always want everybody to think about when they're thinking about emotions is not only how high your amplitude is, how high your energy is, but also what direction. Does it feel like it's moving in? Does it feel like it's moving in, like collapsing? Or does it feel like it's moving out, flowing? Because when I'm excited, my energy flows and it goes out. Well, what direction do you think my emotions go in terms of the energy when I'm sad? How does my energy work when I'm sad? It goes inward, right? I go down, in. And that's exactly what happens. When I'm feeling down, my energy goes down, down inside. Now, we have one other person right here. What if this person had low energy, like this one, but the energy we talked about had flow to it? The energy wasn't collapsed in like it is sad, but it's low. What emotion do you think that one is? Well, that one's a little bit harder one because most people don't feel that one a lot, which is too bad. But have you ever felt calm? Have you ever felt peaceful? Peaceful isn't a high energy emotion. Peaceful is a low amplitude emotion. And amplitude, again, isn't bad. My energy can be low, but if it has flow to it, that's what makes it good or bad. That's what makes it positive or negative. I mean, it's the frequency, that the waves getting really close together or the waves spreading out. So here in this situation, I have low energy, but because the energy is focused out and not collapsing in, it feels great. It feels positive. So this little graph is a helpful graph for you to begin to help your children understand emotions and how the energy in their body is working.
So I see that we have a few new people that have joined us during the video, which is fantastic. If you would like to participate in the online, what you see right now, the interactive, please feel free to follow the directions up at the top of the page. You can go to menti.com, either on your phone or your computer. And then with that, you can use the code that's up there at the top, and that will put you into the interactive portion of this. I just didn't want you to miss out. So for those of you who are just joining us, you can join in the interactive again. I see we have a couple more people. You can go to menti.com. It's up at the top of the screen, and then you use that code and it will put you into this specific presentation this evening. So using that information that we just learned from Brett in the video, we're going to play a game using your phone in Menti. So I prepared a few questions for you, and you're going to be assigned a character to represent you. Looks like we've got a few in there. Soccer ball, a bunny, a hamburger. When I hit enter, you will be presented with a quiz question. So you'll have 20 seconds to answer the question, but the faster you answer, the more points you're going to get. Are you ready? All right, here we go. How does Brett Williams describe emotions? Was it feelings, energy, electricity, or necessary? Well, it looks like the four of us that have participated, They all picked energy, and that's right. Brett refers to emotions as energy. Remember that E in energy and motion results in emotion. Okay, that was a pretty good one. Are you ready for question 2? Here we go. When our energy flows out, what kind of feelings are created? Are they positive or negative? So when our energy flows out, what kind of feelings are creative? Positive or negative? Okay, we've got some that have said positive, one that said negative. The answer is positive. Remember, positive energy flows out of us, and our body reacts to positivity with smiles, with happiness, more lighthearted feelings, maybe laughing. Okay, so we have one more question in this section. Are you ready? Here we go. When our energy turns inward, collapse is created, causing us to have what kind of emotions? Positive, negative, or no emotions at all? Okay, everybody's voted? And everyone said negative emotions. That is correct. So when our energy is turned inward, this causes us to collapse, which causes negative emotions. Remember, the anger was kind of a collapse. That was the high energy. And then the sadness was an emotion inside, but it was also sad. It was the down energy. So we've answered 3 quiz questions. So we can see, let's see if it'll show us who's in the lead, if there is one. Oh, we're all running pretty good there. Fantastic. So hang on, because we're going to have a few more questions. So Brett mentioned in his course on emotional regulation, a situation where energy that gets too high can cause collapse. So let's see. Give me just a second here. There we go. So he talks about a situation where a young girl gets invited to a birthday party, and she's extremely excited about being invited to this birthday party. And then the day of the birthday party, her energy was off the chart excitement. I have 2 girls. I understand exactly what this is. Actually, they have too much energy. So what happened to her is her high energy can't stay at that level, resulting in a collapse. The afternoon of the party comes, and all of a sudden she's like, nope, can't go, don't want to do this, nope. So what if they don't like me? What if I make a fool of myself? And then she begins to fall into anxiety because that's high energy got too high and collapsed. That can happen to anybody, little kids, adults, teenagers. So on the flip side, sometimes our energy can be too low. Being too low can cause somebody to slip into depression because their energy is just flat. As parents, we have to watch for that too. When energy is very low, sometimes just doing something physical can keep us from going into depression. So as parents, one key to helping our kids manage their emotions is understanding the collapse and the flow along with the high or the low energy. So remember, when our emotions are turned inward, whether high or low, collapse is created. So it's important that what Brett Williams calls the Goldilocks zone, where emotions are not too high or they're not too low, but they're just right. Kind of like in the fairy tale, the Goldilocks and the 3 bears. So let's move on to the next segment where Brett Williams explains why emotions that are too high can be harmful.
Our emotions can be either too low or too high. I'm going to show you a graph that really kind of helps illustrate that by looking at what is called a bell-shaped curve. And the bell-shaped curve begins with low energy or no energy, or lower axis of the energy. The upper axis, the y-axis, is productivity. And what we see at the bottom of the graph is that when there's no energy, there's no productivity. And when there's too much energy, when it goes all the way to the other end, productivity stops again. So let me give you a simple example that helps you understand. I'm going to use my kids as a reference point. Wesley, my oldest, was perfect at this. Man, he'd either run totally cold or totally hot. So, for example, someone would touch one of his toys. And man, somebody interfered or touched or took one of his toys, and it was like off the chart energy. He just would lose it. Mad, screaming, upset, crying, whatever, his energy just flooded. And he, went from a 0 to what we call a 10 and just melted down. But at other times, I couldn't get him to have enough energy. So a perfect example was schoolwork. He had no energy on schoolwork. And so trying to get him motivated to do homework was almost like impossible because he just had no energy going on it. So even, let's stay with the homework example because that was always a good one. Even at the end of the year, when everything was coming due, then he'd finally get motivated. Then he'd finally feel the stress of all of his assignments not being done. But then it would flood. It would flood to the other extreme. So then he'd become frozen because he had too much stress and anxiety. So one of the things that we worked on with Wes to try and help him, and this is going to be your first technique you're going to start working on with your kids, is we developed what was called the Thinkerator. The Thinkerator. What the heck? The Thinkerator basically is this really simple idea that in your brain, we want to rate everything that's happening in our lives. We want to rate them on a scale from 0, not important, to 10. That's really important. And what we want to do is we want to calibrate it, regulate it in the appropriate number. So for Wes, things were either 0s or 10s, which isn't a good way to function in life. You're either paralyzed because you don't have enough energy, or you're paralyzed because you got too much energy. So we started to learn, what if we started to come up with a better number system? And so things would happen, and I'd say, Wesley, what do you think this is? 1, 2, 3, 8, 10? And we'd go through and we'd start deciding things like homework assignments or the fact that a friend didn't call back or something. And we'd go through our Thinkerator and we'd go, what do you think? Is this a 10? Now, for me, what I always teach my children is 10s are death. That's the worst thing that could happen in life. People dying is pretty bad. That to me is a 10. Now, the fact that your friend didn't call you back, anybody dying? Anybody bleeding? No. So it's not a 10. So we have to dial it back from there. And using that system, my kids could begin to calibrate their thinking around a particular event. So I wasn't saying to my children, don't be upset. Don't feel your feelings. Of course, I want to help my children feel their feelings. But I want to help, again, the key phrase that we're learning is emotional regulation. I want to help my children learn to regulate their emotion. Because seeing it as a 10 because their friend didn't call them back is not good regulation. So I would help them begin to regulate. Yeah, that's a 2, maybe a 3. So be upset, but let's be upset and bring the energy to the situation that's appropriate to the circumstance.
So let's take a closer look at the bell curve that Brett Williams just referred to. We are visualizing the energy levels and the productivity levels in this curve. Low energy results in low productivity, and very high energy can also result in low productivity if we become too flooded with emotions or overwhelmed. Our productivity can also collapse because of that. So let's go back to our quiz. Look at your phones, and are you ready? Here we go. The Thinkerator helps kids do what? Think about consequences, regulate their emotions, think about their concerns, regulate their temper. Which of those does the Thinkerator do? Okay, so the answer is yes. It helps them think about regulate their emotions. So the Thinkerator isn't just for younger kids. Older kids can use this tool as well. Helps kids regulate their emotions by learning to decide which events are more critical or which events require an intense response compared to minor issues. Just like he said, is it a 10? Is somebody dying? Or is it a 2? Someone borrowed your pen and didn't give it back. So we all rate the importance levels of events. Learning to assign the proper amount of emotion or energy to an event is a lifelong skill that everyone needs to develop. And, I find with little kids, this happens because they don't have any regulation at all. And then they start to do fairly well. And then they hit teenage years, which is an emotional upheaval for, lack of a better word. So it's a good thing to teach kids when they're younger, but it's a great thing even as they get older to remind themselves. All right, let's go on to our next question. So think about the bell curve. Low energy equals low productivity. High energy equals what? High productivity or low productivity? Which one? Do you remember the curve that we had? It was the blue. Low energy is low productivity. High energy is actually low productivity. Remember, it's the opposite end of the curve. So when our kids' energy is too high or too low, they aren't very productive. So like the example with the homework, low energy and not motivated to do their homework when it's due. When their energy is too high, they tend to be flooded with emotions and they just freeze. They just can't do anything. And that is not allowing their energy to flow. So here's Brett Williams' takeaway tip. Instead of saying, don't be upset, that's the last thing you want to do. Let them be upset, but help them bring the appropriate energy to the situation. Is it a 10 or maybe a 2? Brett mentioned the Thinkerator as one tool that we can teach our children to regulate emotions based on circumstances. Now let's learn about 2 more tools that Brett uses to manage emotions.
And so what I want to teach you to begin to do is I want to teach you to begin to create what are called body scans. And then you can teach your children to begin to create body scans. And a body scan is just allowing yourself to be aware. Be aware of everything that's happening from here down. And I usually use it as a scan. So I'll usually start with my neck and go, okay, what's my neck feeling? Okay, what's my shoulders feeling? Okay, what are my arms feeling? Okay, what's my chest feeling, my back feeling? And what I'm looking for as I'm asking that question, feeling, is I'm looking for tension, stress, tightness, or I'm looking for flow. Because really, those are the 2 basic reactions that your body has to emotions. They're either the negative emotions, and again, look at your feeling wheel if you don't believe me. Look at your feeling wheel and look at negative emotions. Any negative emotion you can think about creates collapse. That's without exception. That's not a a partial rule, that's a complete rule. Every time you feel a negative emotion, anger, hurt, watch my body language as I'm trying to express that feeling. Oh, I'm hurt. All negative emotions create collapse. All of them. All positive emotions create flow, love, happiness, joy. You could see it on my face. You can see how my muscles relax, how my face just goes, ah. My shoulders drop, my arms drop. That's what we need to begin to scan for when we're looking for positive versus negative emotions. Now, when I'm helping my children, helping them begin to understand their emotions, oftentimes what I'll do in the very beginning, especially if they're kind of little, is I'll ask them to give me a squeeze. What does that mean? Give me a squeeze. Typically what I'll do is I'll stick my finger out and I'll ask them to grab my finger. And I'll ask them to say, hey, give me a squeeze. Let me know how you're feeling inside by squeezing on my finger. If they're feeling a lot of collapse, they're going to squeeze really hard. And that'll give me an idea of what they're feeling. But it'll also give them a way to express their feelings, which is not just word-based. Because again, kids aren't super verbal. So getting your kids to talk about their feelings is going to be kind of hard. But if I can say, hey, give me a squeeze, show me what you're feeling inside. And they can squeeze light, or they can squeeze soft, or they can squeeze hard. And that will give me an indication of what they're feeling or experiencing inside. And again, allow them expression to how they're feeling with their emotions.
The three tools that Brett Williams recommended using are the Thinkerator to help any age child rate how they're feeling. Remember the scale and the bell curve? And then using the give a squeeze finger technique, especially for young kids to demonstrate how they're feeling. And for older kids, using the body scan to help your child recognize stress, tightness, anxiety, and other physiological signs of negative emotions. I really like the give me a squeeze. And this I can use even as an adult with my husband if we go somewhere, I'm feeling uncomfortable, anxious, that type of thing. And I'm just holding his hand. Then I can squeeze and he knows what's going on. And it's pretty much undetectable by other people that are around us. It's a great thing to use with your kids. That way, you know what's going on and it's not making a scene. It's, making them feel comfortable because it's kind of a private conversation. So I really like the give me a squeeze. The others are great too, but that's one of my favorites. So let's practice the body scan technique. You can use it with your teens or even yourself to explore how you're feeling. So no matter if you're sitting or standing right now, begin by making yourself comfortable. And your hands could be resting in your lap or at your side. So take several long, slow, deep breaths. Breathing in fully and exhale slowly. And you want to breathe in through your nose and either out through your nose or your mouth. Feel your stomach expand as you inhale and relax and let go and exhale. If you're distracted by sounds in the room, simply notice them and then bring your focus back to your breathing. Now, take your attention down to your feet, up to your ankles, your calves, your knees, and your thighs. Observe the sensations that you are experiencing through your legs. Now keep moving up, your torso, your arms, your head, your whole body. And as you come to the end of this practice, take a full, deep breath. Exhale fully. And when you're ready, open or focus your eyes and return your attention back to the present moment. So during your body scan, share what you felt or what you noticed. Were you even aware that you had tension? Or maybe you don't have any. Tell us how you felt. Someone said that they had a tight back. I find sometimes just breathing helps you relax. Any other responses? Just being aware in general. Yeah, that's great. Sometimes we're just so go, go, go these days that we don't even notice what's going on. So did you have maybe tightness in your neck or your shoulders? Yeah, neck tension. Absolutely. So these are all great things. And to help your child become more aware of their body and what it may be trying to tell them, especially when they're upset. So remember the whole tightness, anger, collapse inside, or sadness, collapse inside, or maybe they're having a great time and they're laughing and they're enjoying themselves and there isn't a lot to scan for. So even deep breathing, as I said, can help relax in stressful situations. Oh, realizing that you're tired. Yep. I'm sure you've worked a long, hard day. When with kids, we're all tired. So thank you for that one. So you know your children and your situation obviously the best. Which tool can you see yourself using with your child or with yourself? Would you use the body scan, the give me a squeeze, Thinkerator, or maybe you'd use all of them? Which ones do you think you might use? Give you a minute to log in there. This is on Menti. So again, the body scan where you're kind of starting at your feet and working your way up. The give me a squeeze, which kind of tells us what we're feeling quietly. The Thinkerator, based on that scale of 1 to 10. Is it really, really emotional at the top? Or is it a 1? Maybe it's a 2. Looks like we have some in here. Somebody said the Thinkerator, that they would use that. I think that's a great one because it kind of gives a number. It helps kids understand, gives them something to actually visually look at, 1 through 10. And a couple of us have said all of the above. And I guess maybe it just depends on what situation you're in too. So by teaching our children how to recognize their emotions, we can begin to teach them how to regulate them. So we've covered some very important information tonight. So we have leaderboard. Okay. So great job. Thank you for participating. So at the Cook Center for Human Connection, we are driven by the mission of bringing together resources that have demonstrated effectiveness in creating the human connections that are vital for strong mental wellness. And one of those resources is actually parentguidance.org. It's a free resource. It's backed by therapists who share different courses for parents on mental health topics. So you should have a link in your phone right now in Menti if you'd like to explore further. But I am going to give you just a brief guided tour as well. So I would like to, we're going to go live real quick and I will show you a few things on there. So it is accessible in both English and Spanish, and it provides educational and therapeutic assistance, empowering you, instilling hope in your role, supporting your kids' mental health. So following this, I really encourage you to visit parentguidance.org, and you can share this website with others that you know that might find helpful, other friends, people in your district. Maybe you have a brother or sister who has kids that you think that they might find this helpful. So if you look at the top of the page, there are different sections. One is parent coaching, and I do believe your district does offer parent coaching. Yes? Yes. So let me tell you a little bit about parent coaching. We know that being a parent is tough. I have lived through 3 kids and they're still kids. So I'll always be a parent, but it is tough. And our coaches give parents confidence, structure, and ideas to tackle, even tough topics. So your participation is completely HIPAA protected, and coaches are kind of like virtual parenting assistants. So working together, you can get advice and day-to-day suggestions to help your kids thrive. So our coaches have expertise to walk you through even the toughest challenges that may arise. Plus, the coaches use an app with learning modules to help you work through tough topics like grief, anxiety, depression, and maybe just even the basics of parenting, just to name a few. So your coach will provide you with an idea and pathways to help your kids help you reach your kids. And you connect virtually one-on-one with them weekly, but you can also text or email them at any time, and they will send you a response within 24 to 48 hours. And all of this is at no cost to you due to the partnership between your district and parentguidance.org. So let me say that again. This is a free service that your district does provide. So feel free to use it whenever you need to. It's a great resource. And getting matched with a coach is very simple. It's just a 1.5 minute simple questionnaire. That's less time than it takes to watch a commercial on TV. So once you fill out your questionnaire, you're going to be matched with a coach within 48 hours. That's just 2 days. And then you can start working through questions with your coach. So that's the first section. The next section we have is the on-demand courses. There we go. So we do have over 50 courses in this section, and they're all taught by licensed therapists. Each course can be taken at your own pace, and they are anywhere from 15 minutes to maybe an hour long. And each course has a summary and a video trailer so that you can see what it's all about, as well as a brief bio of the author. And because they're broken into segments, you can start and stop anytime you like and just pick right back up where you left off. This is a great thing, especially for parents. And another great thing is that you can be concurrently enrolled as many courses as you like. So if you've got multiple things that you're trying to have some interest in, you can be on those courses all at the same time. So the course topics include all different types of things. You've probably seen some of them rolling through. I'll go down just a little bit. On the left-hand side is kind of a general where to start. And then if you go into there, they'll have courses under those topics. So some of them you can see beating the fear that you're not enough, body love, breaking the cycles of trauma, de-escalating cycles of conflict. They're all great things. And finally, we'll get back to our Ask a Therapist. In this section, if you have questions that you'd like answers to right now, please feel free to check this section. It is made up of commonly asked questions for parents on various topics. So parents have submitted questions on our website, and you can actually submit your own. I'll pull this down so you can kind of see. Over here on the left-hand side where it says submit questions, you are welcome to submit your own. But the parent questions on this page, the ones that you're already seeing, have been reviewed by a therapist, and they're responded to with a video response and a written transcription, so you can choose to read or watch the video, either one. Depending on, sometimes you're just in a situation where you can't watch a video, so being able to read it is great. So that is parentguidance.org, and I highly recommend it. It's a great resource. Let's see. Parent coaching can scan that to register for coaching if you're interested, and scan that with your phone. So as we wrap up this hour, let's take just a minute to share a few things that you'll remember from today's conversation. Is there something that you learned that you'd be willing to share with others? We all have things that kind of speak to us, and perhaps something you share can benefit somebody else today. I'm going to give you just a moment because I know it takes a second to get in there and type. So I will let you work on that for me. Okay, so somebody says they love the ideas on how to look for emotions. So those things, those body type scans, what are you doing there? Are they kind of collapsed inwards? Are they feeling relaxed in their body and their shoulders are out and open? Those are great ways to be able to kind of take a look and see how not only you're feeling, but how your kids are feeling without having to have this discussion, you can just visually look at them. And again, I said, one of the things that I love is the hand squeeze. I think it's a great thing to be able to do in public. So you have an idea, especially for kids who tend to be maybe a little bit shy. And sometimes kids who have disabilities, it's easier for them sometimes to be able to show it, with a squeeze or something than to verbally express that. So that's a great thing. To let them have their emotions. That's right. That's a great one. Don't say, oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Or, yes, they have emotions, but we just have to figure out, is it a 1 or is it a 10 or is it somewhere in between? So thank you for those responses. I sure do appreciate it. Well, it looks like, yeah, our next session is going to be about the ABCs of substance use and vaping. And that is going to be on March 28th, so about a month from now, a little over a month. This is a great, great presentation. So please, let's, sign up, make sure that you can participate. There is a scan, but I believe you send yours out, don't you? To your class, to your parents. Okay. So I don't believe that scan will necessarily, well, it might work. Does the scan work for you?
It does, because it goes straight to our
Okay.
same, and the links never change. So anytime they get a flyer for the webinars, it's always going to be the same.
Okay, perfect. Well, now we know. Great. So yes, that QR code will work on there, and that will get you signed up for the next session, which is great. These are all wonderful sessions and great presentations. A lot of good information packed into just an hour. So finally, I would like to send a special thank you out to your administrators for making our partnership possible and for offering these valuable resources to you as families. And mostly, I would like to thank you for taking time out of your super busy schedules to be here with us. We know that this is a busy time of day. Kids have practices and you're coming home from work and people are hungry. So thank you for spending the hour with us. The Cook Center for Human Connection and ParentGuidance.org are dedicated to helping parents support their kids' well-being. So we appreciate your involvement and making this connection happen. So I would like to say thank you and have a wonderful evening. And I'm not sure if you have any other words for your families.
Thank you. Yes, if you need to contact the Parent Academy for any reason, you please email me at parentacademy@gm.sbac.edu. And I would just like to say good night as well. And each week, every Thursday from 6 to 7, you are welcome to join me for other informative presentations and discussions, just like this one that you saw. We will not be hosting one during our spring break, but any Thursday from 6 to 7 after that, you're definitely in for a treat. And so please feel free to reach out to me should you need to. And for those that joined before, once I did my introduction, I'm Tina Folston Hayes, the Parent Academy Specialist for Educational Equity and Outreach for the Alachua County Public Schools. And I thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for all your helpful information. That was wonderful.
You're welcome. Have a great evening.
Yes, ma'am. You too. Bye.
Bye now.